let's talk about 40K
Today.
today. Never gets old for me. Never
Nope.
gets old.
It's like it was yesterday.
How goes the day? I just got
It's going
back.
fantastic.
I just got
You,
back today. I'm very tired.
nice.
I took the
You know
boys.
what? I will ramp up the energy level even more than normal
I like me like you.
to offset to
I had,
offset yours.
I had to take the boys to the airport to get back to Tallahassee. Sent them packing at 4 a.m. and continued my
Nice.
merry way back to Toledo. So I'm ready to rock and or roll.
We got lots of stuff to talk about. 40K Today is the show here on the Art of War, where we sit down and we talk about things that happened in the hobby, gaming, whether it's shows, whether it's new releases, whether it's trends, whether it's competitive hot takes. This is where you get the goss, the hot goss of the week, and even sometimes not even 40K stuff. And we interact with you, the chat. So sit back, relax, and get ready to have your mind blown because this is going to be amazing. It's going to be super fun.
So I've got some 40K Today news. Did you hear about the Adepticon team tournament?
Oh my goodness. Did I hear about it? Yes, I did, Brad. Why? Why are you so
I
enthusiastic
don't
about
know if you were
telling me about
checking
this?
out the event results, but this guy's team won the team tournament. And when you talk
Oh my.
about bandwagoning, Brad joined the team that was two-time defending champions, and we put the three-peat on, proving once again that I will do whatever it takes to ride whatever bandwagon I need to for the victory.
Do you have another medal slash trophy now?
I do. I
Where do
have
you keep all your medals and trophies, Brad?
all over the place, my friend. It is fairly weird how I
They're
keep
in
them.
a they're in a tub in the back.
Just random places. Brit does put them out sometimes. I do
Nice.
not. But we had a great. I have to give it up to my teammates, Mitch, Alan, and Elliot. They did fantastic work, and
What did you run?
we ran custos, and we ran a seven
Nice.
foot tall throne of the emperor as our display board, and it was magnificent.
Cool. Cool. That's massive.
I love that tournament. It's one of my favorite tournaments. They put a lot of everything. Thank you, Adepticon. But there's tons of theme, paint, everything, spirit. They all of the. It's a
Yep.
hobby type of tournament where a lot of things go into it besides just the standard battle. It's a throwback. So, super.
Everything counts.
I love it. I love the team. There's so many teams there with really great stuff. It was exciting. Very, very exciting. I love me some team tournament. I talked about it before. So
Best way to play 40K in a lot of ways. Huge shout out just now to Ryan Burke. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Art of War membership here on YouTube. Thanks a lot. Shout out to you, Ryan Burke. Eldon Warden. Howdy, fellers. Hey, how's it going? Did you have any Wardens talking about Eldon Warden in your list, Brad?
indeed we did, because
Very
bodyguard
nice.
is a balanced mechanic and should be
I
buffed for.
feel like that's going to change. I have a feeling
uh,
maybe.
maybe you know what possibly could change. We had Harlequins winning the event with a Harlequin on Harlequin finals at Adepticon for the singles championships. And then we had more Harlequins rounding out the top four with a Tau player. So the top four was Harlequins, Harlequins, Tau, Harlequins. So,
I don't know about you, but I've been loving the memes of tons of Skyweavers and Voidweavers. F, Mr. Bond. Because that's how
nice.
it felt. It literally felt like looking at the streams, it was like a top-down view, and it was like a little swarm of just brightly colored triangles,
Uh,
just fighting other brightly colored triangles.
triangles. It
That's what it
was
looked like.
all of the things. Hey,
Yeah.
congratulations on going 3-1 with Chow at the championships.
Nice.
Well played. Well played, Mr. Bond.
Yeah,
So,
congratulations. That was well done. The championships, you mean top 16? Is that what that was? Then good. Yeah, it was really cool to see. I really liked watching the live streams. First and foremost, like everybody that put all the work on was fantastic. We had the Wargaming Live channel on YouTube that was doing a lot of the 40K stuff while the AOS teams was being live streamed on the Warhammer Twitch page, and I like having the players mic'd, and I like the camera angles, and it was really well done. So the coverage of this event, if you haven't, you can actually go back and watch all the live streams. They're on YouTube, and check out like some crazy good players playing some 40K.
Joe had some. He had the new camera that pans, the side
Oh
camera
yeah,
that
it was on
pans.
little rollers. It was on like a little. It was like a little robot that literally like was like on a remote control like car,
Oh, it
like
was
just moved back and forth.
fantastic. I loved it. I was looking
Yeah,
over at his new stuff. He's like, Brad, check out my new toy. And I was like, this is fantastic.
I
Uh,
was there for that when you showed up on stream, and that exact moment. I was there for the stream.
it was
Yeah.
nice. He's upped his gear. You have to give him props. It's really, I love the coverage. I like being able to. I think it's very important when you're watching, being able to see in is so
Yeah.
big because it shows you so much more and gets you involved in what's happening in the game, which I think just makes it
Mhm.
significantly more interesting.
Although it's really cool because this week we have even more stuff on the docket. You know, Adepticon, there was a Crusher Stampede, but Innis ended up winning an event in the UK with Crusher this weekend. It's really cool. Like Innis is a great guy. He's the team captain of the Scottish national team for 40K, and it was nice to see him just crush people with it. Still, as what it takes.
Crushing with Crusher.
That's exactly how that works.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I think Crusher is a good match though for a lot of these things, just because of the fact that it can do big damage. It can move very, very fast. Um,
Yep.
I'm actually interested to see how they're going to make their interactions with the new Tyranid book and the Army of Renown there.
Well, it was a white dwarf, right? So odds are they won't change it, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple of references to things that might not be in the Tyranid book, right?
Right.
Or that some weapon changes and something like that. Like there's a couple of things I feel, or that people have noted because of the leaks that just don't interact well. So who knows? I guess we'll see.
Let's see. Oh, what do we got here? I have an Eldar question. We are always happy to answer Eldar questions. They're my favorite questions. Harpster's list had some tournament Eldari staples, Night Spinners, Sport Weapons, Hawks, but still didn't have an answer for Tau. Do Eldar have an answer for Tau? Thanks. The answer is yes, they do have answers. It is a tough matchup, but
Mhm.
I have to knock out everything because I have a current streak going, a win streak going against Tau currently. After I've played it some more, you end up taking the board early and really zoning out your opponent and trying to make sure that they're pushed back, and you end up getting big up in points. And the Tau usually do a lot of damage to you, but you can usually maintain your lead if you do that. The hardest way to play them is in Dawn of War because the deployment's pretty bad
Yeah.
for everyone. A lot of
So
armies,
close.
yeah,
Yeah. There's no depth. Like you can't go.
yeah.
Like you can't create space. Yeah.
So that's what he played in. So he had Harden, and he played Tom Ogden, who's a fantastic player. So that was a tough match. So I think Eldar do have plays into them. It's just very, very tough. Tau's an amazingly tough army, and when they start that close to you, you're looking to try to minimize. You can't do as what you can in the other deployments, hammer and anvils, board quarters, and stuff like that, where you can really zone them out and keep them away from you.
Yeah. Keeping them away is like the most important thing because even like the airburst fragmentation projectors, they have to be in a certain range, right? And if they want to shoot at something specifically, but they have to kind of like reach in far into your deployment zone, then you have more options to sort of like deal with them. Like once you kind of like they've shut, but in Dawn of War, like there's just no hiding. Yeah,
It's tough. I mean, Dawn of War, even though it's our staple, has been the staple for forever, I think is a deployment of the past. You know what I mean? It does
yeah.
not play very well in today's
Line
armies.
up and kill each other is
Yeah,
yeah.
you get
Eh.
so much less. You get very skewed things. We had a question on this: does the Shadow Seer ability work on Tau, Exemplar, Maka, just things of that nature? I think it does take the because in I don't know how they ruled it. I actually forgot to look at that.
Yeah.
But I think that they were ruling that it does. So your Maka would basically be 12 inches instead of 18 to start.
Yeah, well, you count as being further away, correct?
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's like the thing is it doesn't add range to it. It just makes you count as being further away. So it's like it does work in a lot of those situations. I'm sorry we can't answer it in text. It's doing a voice thing today, unless Brad types it all out for you.
I just said yes. The minus the range counts.
Okay. The flyer looks nice. Which one?
There's all kinds of good stuff. You know what? You know what we saw
Lots
today?
of flyers.
Let's talk about what we saw. There's some big boys coming. Some big boys.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The Adepticon. They did the preview. Hello, Sam Guinness. By the way, what's going on? Nice to see you. Guess what that channel is all about, Brad? With Sam Guinness.
I'm gonna go with some bloody
Space
mess.
Wolves.
Some space wolves, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the two Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights are set.
Do you see
to
those
come
war
together.
dogs? Those war dogs with like the actual war like dog faces, and then like a Chaos Knight that's this really cool like the old school dreadnought,
Right.
thrasher thingy, but like knight sized, and a Volkite cannon. Like that thing is just so cool looking.
I mean, this is the one with the dog. I've got. Let's take a look at these. These are pretty tasty.
Oh my goodness, I don't know what they'll do with knights. Just in general. At the end of the day, knights tend to be very popular because they're big, stompy robots, and people love their big, stompy robots. But I wonder if it's ever going to be again like it was 3 or 4 years ago, where you would go to a 60-person event and there were more, or a 100-person event, or 200-person event, and there were more knights than people.
Yeah, there were some big boys for a while, especially back when we had formations of knights too. Uh,
Oh, the lance and
yeah,
stuff. Oh
yeah,
man, that was just so dumb.
yeah, some really good
Was
stuff
it a
there.
3-up involved for that lance? I don't remember what
It
it
was
was, but it
so
was
crazy.
so silly.
I love
Yeah.
this big chaos knight with all the vultures on the knight itself. I just love that look. I just think these are
hmm
so. I'm not even a super knight fan, but these guys are really, really cool.
Ah, I'm glad that it's not like you just have to get an Imperial Knight now and like make it a spiky Imperial Knight,
Yeah, that is a good
or get
quote.
like a Rampager, which is like a very specific type of knight. There's like a different type of knight. It's gonna be very modular, it seems.
I love the quote of adding tentacles to anything is always a win. Indeed, indeed
Right.
it is.
Especially when we're talking about chaos. I wonder if they're gonna be like, it's chaos, right? So I hope that they have some sort of mechanic to make like knights like marked, if that makes sense, with a chaos and
Oh yeah,
Nurgle and
to give them some
Smash and
buffs.
Siege.
I just like
Did
up.
they talk about like a
Yeah,
psychic knight? Then wasn't that something that they talked about? Anyway, I don't know. All I think it's really cool.
I do love the. My favorite is that the little intro for the CSM book coming out soon, and it gives the "We are returned, and this time we'll have two wounds."
Yeah.
Uh,
It would if they would have really wanted to troll everyone, they would have like zoomed into the data sheet or whatever, and it would have said in wounds C Codex Tau for field drum. That would have been really funny.
yeah,
Games Workshop missed opportunity right there. You could have trolled
so
the
much
Chaos
trolling.
community even more. And then do you see that? Can we watch just all together? If anybody hasn't watched it, can we please play the Horus Heresy cinematic intro trailer?
Oh, it
That
was
was
so good.
amazing. That was literally me staring at that screen for a few minutes, just being like, just drooling over all these really cool, like cinematics. Why don't they make, other than, okay, the Exodite is pretty close, but why don't they make more animations like this, Brad? Like this
I
style?
I could not tell you. You know what? I will pull this up for everyone. I will actually put it.
Put in the background or whatever while we talk, but like, honestly, it is like legit awesome. That there's a scene where like there's like these rockets or like energy blasts that hit like the Titan's void shield, and it's like such an iconic 40K imagery moment that just really immersed me into like just the crazy that is the 40th millennium or the 30th millennium in this case. But like, so nuts.
I got it going right now. It looks boss mode. I saw that and was like, this is super cool. Also, the horse heresy stuff is some really cool modeling or models.
Yep.
It's just really good shit. So,
And then they revealed the like the Beaky Marine for 30K or whatever, like the Imperial Marine or whatnot, right? Like that's pretty much what he is. And then and then everybody's really excited that he's like showing really good trigger discipline on his bolter. Because when you're holding a firearm, you're not like you want to keep your finger off the trigger unless you're like firing it or whatever, just to make sure that you don't like accidentally fire off the weapon or whatever happens or whatnot. But like he's practicing trigger discipline, and people were like super excited about that. I was like, oh, that's cool.
there's a lot of super, I love this. Is there any truth to the rumor that I just started about Imperial Guard getting move, and they're not finished book? Oh, I've got some of I'd love to get some of this new stuff because I love having the legions in their old colors. You know what I mean?
hmm
And you can do that with these. It looks super cool. But this,
No Aquila anything on them. No Imperial like Aquilas unless you were the Emperor's no the Emperor's children. Yeah, Emperor's children had Aquilas, right? They were like the first ones that ran like the Imperial
it was
Eagle.
the Children of the Word Bears. I forgot who had it first.
Yeah, one of them. Wondering how I'm going to paint beaky world eaters.
It's an
Well,
excellent question.
same colors that you would
Oh,
non-beaky ones.
I have another victory for Brad.
Nice.
My team is won and I totally forgot my prize support. Now I'm mad about it. I the Art of War boys, Pete and Stu from GW, we had a four team go round in the kill team laser tag arena.
Nice.
And what happens is if you take all of the tryhards and you make them play against all of the painters, the tryhards will definitely figure out a way to break the game and win.
Is that what happens?
Indeed, it was.
Did you totally read the rules way too seriously for something that was supposed to be fun?
Exactly. We went in. We actually played laser tag and figured out all the ways to get in the way of them shooting the box that we were, because it was all about holding objectives. So we basically just used all of the angles to try to block from you from shooting it. We're like, this is legal. This is legal.
Doesn't say in the rules that I can't do this. So somebody posted a picture of a sandwich in my Discord where it's like a piece of bread that's like vertical with like the meat and cheese, and then another piece of bread that's vertical like this. So that reminds them of people who like just try to play role or whatever, Like technically that's a sandwich.
Sandwich.
Yeah.
the
You petulant whack player, you.
the horse heresy stuff is slightly different scale to the 40K stuff.
Mhm.
They're slightly, I think they're slightly bigger than like old school, like
Not as
tactical.
big as the
They're
Primaris
not
though.
as big
Although
as
the scale
they're in
is better.
between.
I feel
Yeah,
like yeah, I feel like the scale for them is like more akin to what true scale Marines
right.
were supposed to be.
They're slightly smaller than the Primaris, but they're bigger than the old tactical Marines.
Yeah.
So they just have a better. It does feel better though, because I always thought the old Marines were kind of tiny for what it is. So
They like when you like look at them and go like the new guardsman, like the new Catachan like commander guy or whatever is like just as big as an old space marine. It's like like the times have really not been kind to the tiny old
now
marines.
I need a new avatar. By the way,
Pre-released this weekend, the Avatar, the Shining Spears, and Malgunra? No, that was last
that
week.
was last
Anyway,
week.
something else did, right? Yeah, it's really cool. Like that Avatar, I got to play against somebody basically proxying in an Avatar the other day, and with Fortune, he's a really annoying to take down.
The funny
Like
thing,
incredibly
I actually
annoying.
really like him in certain things. Jack loves him. He took him over the weekend, but you
hmm
can actually ghost walk and auto make a
hmm
charge out of deep strike with him if you really like to.
Yeah, or like just bring him out of the webway gate. And then all of a sudden it's like this webway gate is like this no man's land where like you have to deal with this avatar, right? it's just going to show up, and then you have to deal with it.
And he has the craft
Ugh.
rules, so he can use all the psychics, or
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of the
He
psychics.
just doesn't get the traits, but
Right.
other than that, he benefits from any of the psychic powers or anything that go onto him. Making him like, and he's got 14 like 2 damage attacks that are
Yeah.
strength 7.
So you can
Like
put, and you can put,
he
he can
will,
use Doom.
yeah. It's not like he was really killy, which was really neat. I got to play against it, but the model is just phenomenal. We've talked about this for months now. They're finally pre-releasing it, so everybody will be able to get it. Showing up within the week or so, which will be really cool to see all the cool things that people will come up with when painting it.
I'm super goosed about it. I really like these new scopes they're coming out with. I want to see more. The Warpsmith and the Chosen both got their plastic kit too.
Oh, like individually, you mean?
I think they released it that. Let me make sure.
They were, yeah, because they went in that like kill team set or something, right? Or the starter set, the Eldritch Omen set. That's where they were originally.
Right, but I think that they also. I thought. Let me zoom back in here. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah.
Dan
Scrolling.
says, I'm assuming that you can just use the 40k Custodes models for Horus Heresy. Yeah, I think they're pretty similar to them. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know the Horus Heresy Custodes have some different jet bikes and some different like vehicles and stuff like that, I think.
yeah, and
But other
they
than that, it's pretty similar.
yep, they added it. I'm looking at right after they give you the We Will Return. It's the they both got their plastic kit.
Nice. Well, chosen. They did give Space Marines 2 wounds, so we'll see what they do. I hope it's not one of those things where like you have to have so many different weapons in a unit. That would like Plague Marines or whatever, where you can only have one of each weapon because that's what comes in the box.
Yeah, they do a lot of times they've been doing the rules set on what's going to be on sprues, and I've always thought that
Hmm.
was a little weird. I mean, you do
But they're
it
not consistent about it.
no because
Because then some things like every single model can be equipped with this weapon in the unit, but they only have like 3 of it, that
right.
weapon or something. Like
I
this makes sense.
luckily have the Bits guy as my home gaming store, so it
Nice.
works out for me. But for everyone else, sorry. I'm able to search through the bits to find whatever I need. But yeah, they've had some weird boxes where you get hardly any of the weapons, and all of a sudden you're searching for whatever sword, whatever plague weapon, you know what I mean, and things of that nature. So I'd like to just see us get more of the choices in the sprues. I always wonder why they didn't just make one sprue that just has the weapons, you know what I mean? As opposed to just giving you one of each as part of the bodies and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. At the same time, they've been kind of moving away from the legs, torso, 2 arms, and a gun and a head, like interaction, and now it's like usually head and backs, and you have to squeeze them together. So there's like a less posability in a lot of these newer kits, unless you like chop and glue. Yeah, I guess it's more user friendly, but at the end of the day, I'm curious to see what they do with the Chaos Space Marines, just in general. Like that book is one of the ones that, even though I don't play Chaos, I'm really excited to see what they start bringing out for that book.
I really hope we get a lot of options. I mean, obviously, I want it to be, I want to continue to ride my bandwagons, so I want it to be really good. But one of the things that I've always really liked when I playing Chaos is just the amount of options you can put together of making people just different, especially the characters,
Mhm.
where you have lots and lots of options of.
That uniqueness.
Because
Now,
that's the whole thing is that I that's one of the things that drew me to that army is the fact that all the chaos armies could be so different from each other. And they didn't have that in the last few editions here. I felt that you had a lot of the same on the table, and with chaos coming out, I'd love to see them have that uniqueness coming out. When you sit across from a chaos army, you have no idea what you're coming into.
yeah.
So
You remember back in the day, this is going back in the day when your army list was secret.
well, kind of, yeah. Because in fantasy, you keep it secret, but
Fantasy, it was always secret, but in third edition, I think, oh, it wasn't secret. I don't think it was secret, but what you put into what transport was secret
yeah, that was a
back in like
weird
third
day.
edition.
Yeah, And, you know, like
Because you could have like a rhino that was painted like the Death Company rhino, but didn't have the Death Company in
company in
it.
it. Yeah. The only reason you do
It's
that
going
any
way back. Everybody watching, we're reminiscing here. This is 40K yesterday and the day before yesterday. Many
we
many years
oh,
ago.
that was still one of my favorites is the fact that apparently the Blood Angels Rhino drivers could rage and keep everybody in. But if the World Eaters raged, they got out of the Rhino and ran away. And then the
I
driver
did.
basically drove up next to them because they still went slower than the Rhino. So,
Yep. The or any yeah that old rules, man. Like the just the nitty gritty old rules. Like I have a unit of Blood Angel Devastators, and I raged, so now they're moving, and now I can't shoot my heavy weapon.
shoot.
And they ran out of the trench they were in, so now they don't even have cover anymore because they were angry.
Why are you guys going there?
No, stay behind the sandbags. Murder!
That was
But I
also
used my
when
last cannon as a club.
I love that rule though, because I love that Death Company used to get, and I miss this mechanic a lot because Death Company used to get X amount of people from every unit that succumbed to the Black
Minimum
Rage.
of one. Yeah, and then on a 4+, it was another one. You could roll again for the unit.
Nurgle Matt
And
is
then if
now.
you... Oh, hey, Nergalman.
Oh, I have to give him something because Nurgle Matt saved my Sunday because I had a bottle of wine and no corkscrew and no one had one. And he went to the bar and
Nice.
got it open for me. It was MacGyver, made it happen.
Fantastic.
Save,
MacGyvered, eh? The way to save the day, Nergal Matthew. That's fantastic.
save the day.
Well, talking about saving the day, Necromunda. That new Ash Waste kit looks so cool.
You are welcome. It does. You know what? Let me put that one up too.
Like the giant, what are they, fleas? That they're literally riding giant, like, insectoid creatures. They look really cool. I'd use them as, talking about chaos, they'd make for some great chaos spawn, if you ask me.
Let me play this one in the background also.
Nice. I think they had some pictures for them up as well.
I don't see the pictures at first. I just saw the video.
We did the thing. Happy to help, says Nurgle Matthew. That's 40K news, buddy. Tournament improved by Nurgle Matthew and Chester teaming up.
Power up.
Poma asks if that's the official position of the GT community. A lot of rulings and stuff is very much like per the team organizer, from a team organizer
per the tournament
to team
organizer itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Most of the time, it's going to be tournament per tournament for anything that hasn't been officially FAQ'd. Such that we talk about this a lot. Anytime you go to a tournament, always take a look at their tournament packet because a lot of times they spell things out exactly. Anything that's not in an FAQ, a lot of times will be taken care of in that packet itself. So it is a big deal to make sure that you just take a look at it because always have a fantastic time. And the best way to have a fantastic time is to never have questions, no arguments. Take away the arguments.
Look, you don't necessarily have to agree with how a tournament does anything, right? First of all, if you don't agree with the way a tournament does a ruling or is doing their terrain or something, you don't have to go to this tournament, right? Like that's the number one thing. You can vote with your wallet. And secondly is as long as the tournament organizers being clear of what the expectation is, it doesn't matter. If you go, everybody should be on the same page. And that'll just impact how you build your list or how you play on the tabletop. But as long as everybody's on the same page, it usually has very little impact on how the game is actually played because everybody's playing the same game.
Right. And that's a big deal on that. I can't say that enough, is to make sure you have those talks with the team organizer, the tournament organizer, look through the pack and everything else, and just talk to your opponent. make sure that both you're on the same page before you play a game. And you can have
Yep.
such a great game if you've talked about everything so that you don't get to the end and Scary thinks one thing and I think another. And we've set up our game plan according to that. So
Hmm.
that is
And
where
it's
the
just
problems come.
And there's even more nuance to that in terms of 40K. When it comes to etiquette, if there's something that is contentious that the TO hasn't specifically addressed, it's you should be having those conversations before you even start rolling dice on the
100%.
table. Like there's the worst thing is when somebody knows that something is contentious and they play the game to the point where it comes up and then they decide to have that discussion when it's like actually matters at that moment in time because of the fact that the game state is at that point.
Right.
And that is one of my pet peeves. Anyway,
100%. But if you talk about it
here I am
beforehand, you
going on
can.
a rant.
But it's so true though, because
Yeah.
you can make. I feel like you can force everybody into a fun game of 40K. Just
Hmm.
take out anything that you could argue about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just go over everything, and it's so few minutes at the beginning of the game to make the game smooth the rest of the time. And I think that's a big deal. I do think it's a big deal because I want to have fun playing with my tiny toys, and that's what I'm here for. Tiny toy, funsies.
We want to make zoom zoom and pew pew noises. That's all that matters. And winning, of course. Of course, if you want to win nowadays, 9 Void Weavers.
9 Void Weavers, 4 or 5 Star Weavers,
Yep.
and
And a solitaire, and lots of luck dice.
don't forget
Did we say luck? Not luck, luck dice.
don't forget the Death Jester who's randomly getting his minimum 4 hits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
was it 12 normally or whatever?
He's
Yeah.
got 3 shots, but
Yeah. Each one's 4, right?
each one's 4 if he rolls a 6 and he has a Warlord trait, he gets an auto 6. And he can just turn one of them into it. So
Nice.
so he can get his 3 shots could be 12 hits.
He will snipe your character to death. Hello, Greenblood Crusade. So, what are you the most excited about for the releases that have come out or that are going to be coming out, Brad?
I'm most excited about some stuff that's already out because I want new models for Craft World, and I want to play with new shiny things on the board. And then what my plans are for Chaos is I want to run a Legion that is very different. I want to make my own, Chaos type army, and I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
run something crazy. I'd like to really something more unique where my characters are just different than others are. So I'm hoping we have enough options where you don't have that build that you immediately find. I hope it's not a Harlequin type thing where we all.
Well, then again, Harlequins have like 4 data sheets.
True,
So,
true. But the problem with that is that we've had it a couple times now where we've had the several of the armies were solved kind of early, and it
yeah.
is armies with less of the data sheets. Custodes, Grey Knights, the now the Harlequins. We've had multiple armies where it felt that they were solved, fairly quickly. Death Jester versus Storm Surge, who wins? The Death Jester. He's just gonna flick him to death while he's not being able to be shot back.
Yep. Death Jester every time is what my vote is.
Good question. I want to get this next question here. What are you guys thinking about how to counter Harlequins? Throughout the weekend, they didn't seem as oppressive worldwide. The thing is that Harlequins, while very, very good because they have tons of speed, tons of shots, still have low wounds. So
Yeah.
mortals
Low
are
wounds,
mortals are a
no
big deal
mortal wound
against them.
protection.
They don't have
Yep.
indirect, so
Hmm.
even though they have ridiculous movement and range, they still have to see you to do the damage. So you
Yep.
can use angles to make them come to you, and then once they get too close, you can just jump out and psychic punch them to death. Mortal wounds are a big deal against the Harlequins for that.
Hmm. I think one of the best ways to counter Harlequins is to understand Harlequins. As Brad was saying, Harlequins don't necessarily have a lot of builds. They have maybe 2 different builds and then 2 different like ways that people play the builds, either dark or light. But everything else that you see in the list is about the same, which means that if you tech into that, you will have tools to play against any Harlequin build because they don't really have a lot of the like depth in unit choices that a lot of other factions do. Like against Tau, for example, you might tech into playing against broadsides, but then somebody brings 15 crisis suits, or you might tech into crisis suits, but then somebody brings like breacher spam or orc root or something. Like there's a lot more Tau builds than there are Harlequin builds. So that's number
Right.
one, is understand what they do. Mortal wounds are really, really important because they don't have like any mortal wound protection. So funnily enough, something like Thousand Suns, I feel has really good play into Harlequins,
Yeah.
in like a weird way.
They
Um,
also have a volume of shots, which is a big
they
deal.
they do like the huge number volume of shots. And then the third thing is look at the math, right? And then find out how to adapt the math to like create a system to beat them. If you look at the weekend, they had like a 78% win rate, almost an 80% win rate this weekend at big events. Their average score for primary or average score for the game was about 84, 85 victory points. Um, Now, other armies that are doing really well, their average score is about 70 some victory points, like when adding it together on average. But then you look at like and we went over this in Meta Monday, Brad, but then you look at their opponent's score, and their opponent's score, like of the other armies, the opponents are scoring like a few points less to like maybe 10 points less, or 60 some points. But you look at like the Harlequins opponent score, they're on average scoring 85 points, but their opponents are scoring like 50 some points. So the disparity is not only they're scoring a lot of points, they stop you from scoring. So one of the easiest ways to potentially help with like play against Harlequins is try and mitigate you losing points, um, in like, and then bring and bridge that gap. And so, how are you going to do that? I'm not sure yet. It's really early to tell. There'll be balance slates, updates, and stuff. But it's a way of looking at it is also by the numbers, right? How can you do it by the numbers?
Zach Tom's did seem to do very well under them with his
Hmm.
particular breach brand of Tau. I think he was 3-1 actually into Light Harlequins. So,
Nice.
but
Did you
they're
play Harlequins 4 times?
over the 8 games because he played
Wow.
John, he played John, he played Robo Matt Robertson,
Yeah.
and then I think he played them when he before the final day here. So might as well strike this huge deal. With custos, you have to make them come in. I can't my usual pre-measure comes into play when you're playing Harlequins.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're not amazingly good. It's going to be a very, very tough game, but you have to measure out their movement and see what the angles. Where do they have to be to see you? And you want to set up so that where you are is making them come in these severe angles, so then you can jump on top of them. It's just very important to not have them be able to sit in their comfort zone. It's an army where if you're not making them make decisions, they're just going to shoot you. Just like Scary was saying with their scores being
Hmm.
putting their opponent's scores so far down. If they're so fast, if you just let them be comfortable with their movements and sit, then you're just going to have really tough games. So you have to basically make them have these severe angles. It'll also cut down on the amount of people that can see you because of those angles. So if you can put them in bunches where then you can react to them and leverage your hand to hand and your shooting against them, especially even getting your shooting within the 12. So it's a big deal on that. So
Yep. 100%. Well, I hope you find that useful, Zach, as well. So the last thing I want to talk about before we start wrapping this up, Brad, is the new terrain set that GW has put out that's coming out. That's going to be up for pre-release, I think, next weekend, which is the Zone Macland, is it? Which is like there's walls and like a landing pad and like a cool, I don't know about you, but I like the table looking really cool. And I really like the fact that a lot of this terrain is chunky and like blocks line of sight. And it helps with the sort of like verticality of the game without being like weirdly unplayable with some of the different ruins. Like the ruins that they've made in the past look great, but when you actually play them on the
no,
table and stuff, they get really weird.
So, anytime you have terrain, and there's a very fine line in this, in usability versus just prettiness, and having
Hmm.
that mix, because you have to have places to put your models.
Hmm.
They have to be able to sit there. There's tons of terrain that looks beautiful, and unfortunately isn't very playable. There's nowhere that people don't stand right, and it has no functionality. And then you
Hmm.
just have these basic walls, which have great functionality, but they're just flat walls. So having that little bit of cinematic feel to it and have a functionality to it is very, very good. Tell you the truth, with some of the terrain that's been really, really good on this, that kill team terrain is actually really cool too.
Yep. Yep. Like the orc kill team stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've got like some good walls and stuff as well. And something I like about this set is that it's stackable. Like they stack, like you can put one of those little half blocks onto like that big landing pad, and it creates like a nice, big, decent like line of sight blocker, and you can make it obscuring or whatever.
Well,
But it means that you can actually play onto and around it without it like, it forces you to move around it or move over it, but it like gives some like protection, and you can create angles, and I like stuff like that.
I like the fact that also you're using the vertical distances. I
Hmm.
like I like playing 3D with it. You
Yep.
can get out of combats with it. You can adjust the where you are, your line of sights. Being able to utilize vertical distance is underused because of the fact that we play with flat walls and things of that
Flat
nature
walls
so
that
much.
have no floors or
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah. Mhm. Exactly.
You can set up just very clever ways to assault people and trap people and get out of combat with vertical movement and stack there's just a lot of plays to do that. And I really enjoy just being able to basically work with the geometry of the game a lot of times to make cool setups. If anything else, you can get more people into combat sometimes than you normally would if it's everybody just flat, especially if you have big units. Being all over 3D, height is a big deal. And I think it adds to the game. It adds to the fun of the game for me.
Yeah, not only that, but if you're a narrative player, there's like a big satellite dish and a giant antenna and stuff. So like, I just look at that and I see some crazy weird scenarios of going to press a button to blow it up or defend it from like the genius of the cults or whatever it is. So,
Who designed the Cyclops Bat Cup logo for Art of War? I do not know, actually. That is
well,
so.
it was definitely not Batman.
It was not Batman. The Bat signal is not up. The Art of
Hmm.
War
Hmm.
signal is up. Tell me how to
Who
live
are you
my
gonna call Art of War?
Art of War. Tell me how to live my week after a big team tournament victory.
So Brad, so what I want you to do today is I want you to draw yourself a bath or a hot tub and open a nice big bottle of wine and relax
I love
and think about how you're going to move on to the next bandwagon
that.
and what that's going to look like so you can educate us all on what the next best thing is.
I can do all of these things, my friend. Everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. We always appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing from you. Take it easy, everyone.